Welcome to the Success with Jewelry podcast, where we invite you inside our conversations about business success and marketing for jewelry designers and entrepreneurs.
We're Laryssa and Liz, jewelry marketing experts with a combined 16 years of experience in jewelry marketing and proven track records in helping jewelry brands meet their goals. When you listen to or watch this podcast, you get an intimate and exclusive peek behind the curtain of all the things you wish you could know about earning success in this industry.
Welcome to episode 69. In this episode, Laryssa and I are going to be talking about direct outreach. We'll be sharing tips for clienteling and one-on-one outreach. We also want to tell you about our insider community. When you join, you'll have access to extended episodes full of tips that you can start implementing today and further resources about each topic we discuss. In the bonus content of this episode, we discuss direct outreach to your wholesale prospects. To get access to exclusive content as well as direct access to me and Laryssa, sign up by visiting successwithjewelry.com. Hey Laryssa, let's get into it.
Let's get into it. But I think first, we need to mention some holidays.
I know. So it's February. We're recording this on February 1st. You're going to hear this episode on, I think, February 5th. So it's February. Isn't that crazy? January felt like the longest and shortest month.
It's so true. So true.
But I wanted to mention Valentine's Day. It always like pops up so last minute. Like I find that clients and even myself like sometimes like forget about Valentine's Day. And isn't it like the one of the bigger jewelry holidays?
I so agree. I think people in January are still like reeling, coming off the stress and high of holiday, and they're resting in January. And so, like, the lead up and promotion going up to Valentine's Day is sometimes neglected.
I actually saw this post that I shared with the Stay Gold Collective. It was like between Christmas and New Year's, and it was a Valentine's Day promotion post from like a legitimate retailer. And I was like, that's very interesting timing, but at least they're like ahead of the game.
Between Christmas and New Year's,
Yeah, I don't know if I recommend that, but
nobody's thinking about Valentine's Day then.
absolutely not. But it did remind me to remind the
Yes.
Stay Gold
Good
Collective.
point. Mm-hmm.
Which was great. I appreciated it. But I think that's something we should be thinking about. I know this is like insane to say, but for next year is like, do we want to be promoting Valentine's Day? Like this is something we should get ahead of in future years, in years to come.
Yeah, even just to put it on your calendar to work back from like Valentine's Day next year to make sure if you're gonna do it, like know when you're gonna start promoting because you don't want to remember literally like the day before that it's Valentine's Day.
Totally. And I think a lot of people listening are like, oh, well, my purchaser or my client is a self-purchaser. I love the messaging of like treat yourself or Galentine's Day or add something to your collection, like buy yourself something. That's great messaging too, to do around this time frame.
It's also, I mean, even if you're not selling specifically for Valentine's Day, it's one of my favorite holidays to merchandise for just because I love like hearts and pink and stuff like that. So you can even send something out like the day before or the day of, not necessarily again for Valentine's Day delivery, but just like as a fun, festive message.
Definitely. There is this, I will send you a picture, Laryssa, because you're going to love it. Tamsin Razor, who is doing the New York Now Fine Jewelry Designer Incubator that is next week, is during while this episode is launching, has this amazing reverse set. I think it's Ruby Heart that is just the coolest charm ever. It's like the most punk rock, fanciest heart charm ever. I'm obsessed.
She does like the inverted diamonds,
Yes.
right? Those are so on my wish list, the little hoops, the huggies with the
Huggies are so
diamonds. I
cool.
love them.
You're gonna love this heart. I'll send you a picture. If only this podcast blows up, then we can get matching heart charms.
I love it.
But what is interesting about Valentine's Day too, every year it reminds me to start planning for Mother's Day. And I don't know why that is exactly, except for Mother's Day, I think, is the biggest jewelry holiday, which sounds crazy, but I mean, sales keep each year. I keep seeing sales going up on Mother's Day. And it's such a great time for if you have anything personalized, if you have any birthstone jewelry, anything like that. So now in February is a good time to be thinking about your Mother's Day promotion game plan.
That's such a good point. Yeah. Well, I think for some other holidays, there's a variety of different kinds of gifts you can give people. But for some reason, Mother's Day, jewelry feels very appropriate.
It's so appropriate because jewelry is so meaningful. It's something that
Yeah.
you pass down to future generations. And you can have it so like there's so much personalization that goes with it. Until I became a mom, I wasn't super into personalized jewelry, but now I'm like, give me all of the aquamarines, anything engraved with my kid's name or birth date or anything like that.
Yeah.
I actually took his like first haircut and I'm gonna get like the first lock of hair I had cut, like put in a charm. Like
Oh,
I
that's really
have
cute. I
I have
like that. Gem
so
Gossip is really good at showing ways you can have like mom jewelry, like very cool mom jewelry.
she does a great job. Her whole new line that she has on her website is like personalized. And I think that's something just to think about. Not custom. I know a lot of designers aren't super into like the whole custom thing, but having customizable pieces I think is
Hmm.
smart.
Yeah, that's a great point.
So anyway, we'll talk more about this, but I just wanted to put it on everybody's radar. But now let's dive into the topic. So
Yes.
we've been talking about kind of what to focus on this year, and direct outreach is one of those things. So we're going to kind of talk around it with like clienteling and how to get started, and then some tips. And then in the bonus content, we're going to talk specifically about wholesale if that's part of your focus. But in terms of how to get started, I want to mention that the best collectors are the ones you already have. And I know that the holiday season for some designers wasn't as strong as it was expected to be. And then January maybe is always a lull. Although some designers have mentioned it's like coming back a little bit for them in a surprising way, which is great. But if you're kind of in this lull now, reaching out to the collectors you already have is probably one of the best things you could be doing.
Don't forget about those people. I think a lot of brands are so focused on new customers, acquiring new audience that they forget there are people that already like know, like, and trust you. And you need to spend time also reaching out to those people.
And I think that the biggest thing that holds designers back from doing that and people back from doing that is the fact that it's awkward and it's weird. It feels weird, you know? I think we're all a little like socially anxious when it comes to selling, and especially when it's like reaching out of the blue. So getting confident in that, you know, thinking about Valentine's Day, like we were just talking about, that could be a really cute time to send a message to some of your collectors or people you haven't heard from in a while. Like, happy Valentine's Day. Just wanted to send a note of appreciation, you know?
Definitely. Yeah. Like one of our clients, we did a more personalized message recently to their VIP customers saying, "Oh, the client's going to Tucson. They want to shop like for you. So if there's something specific you're looking for, let the designer know," kind of thing.
Tucson is another great reason to reach out. And I know we're like in it and it's ending as this episode's coming out, but Tucson's a great reason to reach out to clients directly. Like, hey, I'm going to Tucson. Like, I know you've had your eye on like that sapphire piece, but like if you had something else in mind, I'm glad to like source sapphires for you, kind of thing. I think that's great. And if you didn't go to Tucson or aren't going to Tucson, I was talking to a designer about this. She's like, I have a huge stone collection. I don't need to go to Tucson. And I was like, you can just share that kind of in alignment with everyone else talking about Tucson. Like, hey, these are some great gems that I have. Or you could even just say you're going to Tucson, even though you didn't, and share some of the gems, the special gems in your collection that you have available.
Yeah, that's so true. Oh, it would be so fun for that person to like merchandise the gems that they have because when you're presenting like a whole assortment to people, they get overwhelmed. So it could be almost like, oh, this month I'm really excited about tourmaline, and these are all like my favorite tourmalines in the collection. Like, what do you want?
Yes, and I think that with custom too, we're kind of off topic here, but we'll just roll with it. When you're like talking about custom, it's such a or customizable even. It's such a conceptual thing. If you're not in the industry, you might not understand how it works, but if you present like, "Hey, these are the stones I have available, and these are the steps that it takes to create a custom project with me," and you break it down and make it really simple, then people are more likely to trust the process.
Yeah, and to bring it back, that could even be like if you're afraid of like a hard sales outreach or you feel like too aggressive in whatever outreach you're doing, you can even just like educate people about how the process works because there are probably customers who don't know.
I saw a great email that came to me from a designer that was simply like, let me walk you through my website and how to use it and what I share there. And it sounds kind of silly because like most people know how to use a website, but this designer's, I know her clientele is older. And also it's just such a nice thing to like be really straightforward. Like, hey, I added these unique features to my website to make shopping easier for you. Let
Mhm.
me point them out.
I love that. That's a great idea.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I thought that was great. Anyway, so keeping in mind the best collectors are the ones you already have. I think we mentioned this in one of our planning episodes for the year, but put together a list of your top collectors and your top prospects so that you have an Excel spreadsheet or maybe use a CRM system. CRM is a client relationship management system. If you're just getting started, just Excel is fine. But this should be part of your strategy this year is like keeping in touch with prospects and collectors and having a list of them.
That's a great point. Do you have a CRM that you recommend?
So I usually recommend one called SalesMate. This has been recommended to me. I haven't personally used it. I'm a big Excel fan, but I don't have to necessarily tie everything to, my website and sales through my website and invoices and stuff like that. So I love Excel. I think that's a great place to start, but SalesMate's a good one to check out if you're looking for another option.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and then you can really play around with this list. So not only thinking about direct outreach, but also segmenting your emails to send specific things to top clients, and playing around with how you communicate with them. So it feels like the marketing you're putting out to them is more tailored to them and more personalized.
Yeah, I found that even with email campaigns, like not that one-on-one email outreach, those can be super personalized too. If you have a segment, you're using a personalization feature in the email to like pull in their first name and you make it just more plain text rather than like a design campaign. Even just that can feel extremely personal.
Yeah, I was watching, or I follow Eva Chen on Instagram, and she's like one of the heads of fashion at Instagram or something like that. She works at Instagram. And I follow her because sometimes she throws out like tips or like what's going on with that platform in a way that isn't as aggressive as like Adam Masori, who's the head of Instagram. And she was saying that the rather than authenticity, the new word of Instagram is intimacy. And
Hmm.
what I really thought with that is email marketing is intimate. It feels like it's directly sent to the person you're sending it to, even though it's, more mass and you're sending it to a lot of people. So I love that point you're making, Laryssa, of like you can send an email that feels even more intimate by, kind of segmenting your audience and making it more specific to them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But something else to like keep note of, whether you're using a CRM system or an Excel sheet, is like what pieces do people already have? What pieces have they collected? Because I think that's an amazing thing to remember. Like, you see a client at an event and you say, like, oh, how are you loving those hoop earrings you purchased? I mean, that is just very, very thoughtful. And so keeping track of that kind of stuff. And then when you're doing direct outreach, you can think about saying, like, oh, you have those hoop earrings. This pendant necklace is perfect if you're trying to expand your everyday jewelry.
One thing I want to add to that is don't try to be a hero and keep it all in your head.
Yes.
I think like a lot of people just starting out, they're like, oh, I don't need to like log this. I can remember all my clients. I know like what they like and I can remember it. Even if you can and you have the best memory ever, I think it's so important to like think about what that's going to be like when you scale your business and get in the habit now of keeping track of that stuff.
I completely agree. That's something I started doing in my business. Like, even though I do remember most of it, but designers I've interacted with the last time, like I saw them and spoke with them, like I think it's just good to keep track of. And um, then you can just check in to remind yourself because having so much in your brain is exhausting.
Don't like it.
Yeah. I know. Also something else you can do, I think, I've gotten this question before, is like, should we follow clients on social media? And I think 100% and genuinely engage with them.
Yeah, I like that. And don't forget LinkedIn too.
Yeah, LinkedIn was a platform that was like hot and talked about a lot last year. And I think it's still something people are talking about, but LinkedIn's a great place to connect with people um, and keep people updated on your business.
Mhm.
So, we wanted to share a few tips for continuing to nurture your clients. So, you put together your prospect list, you know who you want to stay in touch with. So, then from there, you're going to be planning your direct email outreach to top clients. It doesn't just have to be email. That's another thing to keep note of is like, do you correspond with this person through direct message on a social media platform? Or do you typically text with them? Or are they somebody who likes a phone call? And I know that sounds like so old school, but if you have an older clientele, some clients do prefer a phone call or a direct mailing or something like that. But you want to put a plan together so that you're doing some sort of outreach regularly, like maybe once a quarter, maybe just twice a year. It depends on the client, and it depends on your price point and how frequently this person is purchasing from you or how frequently you think they should be purchasing from you. So plan this and like put it on a calendar, maybe setting aside like, maybe you have a list of a certain number of names and you break it down so every week you're reaching out to two of those people or something like that. But I'd put it on a calendar and keep track of it. And like we'd mentioned before, it doesn't have to be a hard sales approach. Like, hey, you have that garnet necklace and I made these earrings and I wanted to show them to you. I mean, that's not even a hard sales approach, but it could be something as simple as like, happy spring. Do you have any trips planned with your family or anything like that? I'm creating this new collection and I wanted to show you first because I know you love lapis. This is,
I want someone to do that to
I do
me.
too. We've talked about this before.
Can somebody like please, if you tell me you'll do this in the future, I'll buy from you.
I know. I feel so special. Like, even though I've been, chatting with and building relationships with designers for years, I still feel so special when they remember which piece I have from them or which piece I've invested in, or if they message me to show me something first. I just love it.
It needs to be done more.
It does. And like if Laryssa and I are feeling special with something like that, I mean, a client who is more distant from the business is going to feel so, so special.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah, and I think that this is something to keep in mind too. Like when you're completing pieces, if you have a piece on the bench, like I know this like one-on-one outreach feels tedious and feels like a lot, but it's going to pay off in the long run because the more you do the outreach, the more comfortable that person's going to feel with you to like, reach out to you first next time. Or just purchase from you. They're going to trust it. So when you complete a piece or have stones on the bench that remind you of a specific client, like sending them a quick message and say, hey, like, I have this lapis on the bench and I know you love lapis. I just wanted to show you this piece I'm designing.
I think that's such a good reminder, Liz. You have to do this without expectations. You can't do it and think if they didn't buy, oh, I'm not like going to contact them again. It didn't work. Like you have to kind of just let go of the outcomes and just do it like over and over. Unless someone's like, I don't want to hear from you anymore.
Totally. And I think that like all comes back to like not only like building these strong relationships, but also building a community. And I think that's how I've really done it with my business is just wanting to build these one-on-one relationships and then everybody in my world wanting to connect with each other. And I've seen designers do this too, especially like during the pandemic when like live videos were more popular where a designer would go on and be like, here are the pieces that I just created and like doing this like really casual, great live video, and then people in the chat talking to each other based on their relationship with that designer, building their own relationship. And that's how you build community.
That's a great point too.
I think something else to offer people as you're doing this direct outreach is stop by the studio and sip some wine and look at jewelry or come by for a cup of coffee if you have a studio, of course, or let's Zoom, let's hop on a call and let's talk about like creating a necklace to match your earrings. Or I was talking to a designer recently and we were talking about how to get people into her studio and it's like January or like the beginning of the year, I know it's February now, is a great time to offer a ring cleaning or
Mhm.
something like that. So invite people in to like have their ring cleaned and offer them like a treat and some tea or something. And then they can look at your current collection while you're cleaning their ring.
I think people are very motivated by snacks.
So motivated by snacks, especially if it's like a local special treat or something like
Mm, mhm.
And then remember that sales is a service. So you're not bothering people, especially if you like have really strategic like um outreach plan that isn't too aggressive, is soft sales, is, twice a year. Sales is a service, you shouldn't feel weird about it. And the last thing I'll say before we wrap up is that for your top prospects, I would highlight these people on your prospect list. Think about sending thoughtful gifts or notes a couple times a year. That goes a long way.
Oh, that I want that. Liz, I want this.
I know. I know. Hopefully, everyone listening will listen to the advice and circle back. Let us know.
Yeah, let
So,
us know if we can buy from you.
yeah, let us know if we should buy from you. Send us a DM on Instagram at Success with Jewelry or DM our personal accounts or message us on the Mighty Network platform. Anyway, let us know. So, are you focused on direct outreach this year? We think you should be, but let us know and visit successwithjewelry.com. We'd love to know what you're thinking, and we're happy to answer any questions that you have. Thanks for being a part of the community.